They're one of the world's most famous families. They can play, they can sing, they can write hit songs, and it probably doesn't hurt that they look like this. Recently, we flew all the way to gay Paris with an exclusive backstage pass to hang out with the Corrs as they prepared for their sell-out European tour. We find out why the band waited 4 years before releasing their 4th album, Borrowed Heaven.
Before the break, we were no longer sort of truly getting and appreciating how lucky we were.
And how have these siblings survived spending so much time together?
One Christmas Day, we just erupted, all of us fighting, and I just remember Mammy, standing going, like, what has happened here?
Jim also talks a little too candidly about dealing with too many chicks on tour.
Well, you've heard about the whole notion of synchronisation and what gets synchronised. That time I kind of run a mile.
And Sharon tells us how the rich and famous get a date.
And they literally have to go and get the guy and go, OK, let's go out.
Is that how you got your husband then?
I did. I grabbed him, yeah.
The band also talks about dealing with the unexpected loss of their mother. Does it somehow bring you all closer together?
Yeah, definitely, because you sort of really understand how fragile life is and how short it can be for people.
This is your backstage pass to get up close with the Corrs in the city of romance. Okay, so I think that's French for rolling.
Right.
Yes, okay. It's the same in Australian, actually. God, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
What we remember so much is the very beginning when we first went over to Australia and the actual album was doing really, really well and we were on the TV. It was quite strange for us because it was the very beginning of our career. It was shocking. I remember we were in a cable car going up into the rainforest or whatever, and you know when the cable car like stops, and there are people looking in going, "There's the Corrs."
The Corrs released their debut #1 album, Forgiven Not Forgotten, in 1996. It sold 6 million albums around the world and over 1 million in Australia alone. Before you became a band and became so successful, what did you think it was going to be like to be this world-famous band, and how is it different to what you thought it was going to be?
Luckily, I think, when you're young and you go into, being in a band, you're quite naive about it because you don't have an idea about what it's like to be really signed to a record label and what happens. You think, oh, I'm going to be out there and I'm going to be playing music. And, of course, that's what you do, but there's an awful lot more involved than just playing gigs. There's the whole sort of record company roller coaster thing that you sort of step onto. This is the right time. We had no idea about promotion, had absolutely no idea about what happens, and basically, there was one stage like we did 5 continents in 3 weeks.
There was just crazy schedules, and we were doing promotion that really you'd see like a tiny benefit from. You know what it's all about. Everybody has to do it when they're starting out.
Yeah, like Horse and Hound feature magazine.
Exactly. Crocheting weekly.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we have to do wheat and barley on this album?
This is the
I mean, did you want to be famous? Was that, were you all as ambitious as each other starting out? Like, we want world domination. We want everyone to know who we are.
Not famous, no. We wanted our music to get out there. Fame wasn't an impetus at all. In fact, it is the one thing that is very, very difficult about it. Of course, there's nice things to it. You get into restaurants when you want, and there's some good things to it. But fame kind of is not what people think it is. You know what I mean? It can make you feel very self-conscious. It certainly doesn't make you feel wonderful and beautiful. It can make you feel like you're constantly in a goldfish bowl.
As the band released their 2nd and 3rd albums, their collective sales soared to over 30 million. Now a worldwide success, the Corrs discovered that living in that fishbowl can come at a price, especially when you're single.
I think a lot of the lyrics that I've written in the past, I wasn't really seeing anybody,
and that was quite, for years, that would go on, and in a way it can make you feel like you're quite strange, especially because the press would kind of keep at it, and, you know, Andrea, you know, why I can't find a man or something, to be like headlines.
Can't be good for your morale though, right?
Or you're set up with people, and even if you're, you know, going on a date with somebody, or just, you know, trying to get to know somebody, you know, then they have things in the papers like, fingers crossed, friends say, could be wedding. So you're almost breaking it off with somebody before you go out.
It's only when I sleep, I see you in my dream.
Now, are you a person that develops crushes really easily?
I think I've got a good fantasy kind of land that I have, so things can, like in the past when I was younger, very much so become even bigger. It'd be like, you know, I'd probably very romantic, and in that way, I suppose I have the same, you know, everybody
like
goes through their stuff, yeah.
But people think if you're famous and beautiful and you've got a lot of money and you're in a band, that those things don't happen. Do you get a sense?
I mean, for guys more so. I do. I really think guys have a great time in bands because they just, you know, they can just, they can be very free about it. I think as women.
With that?
Well, I think when you're in this sort of business, you're kind of catapulted into something that they think, oh, that's untouchable.
I never really loved you anyway. No, I didn't love you anyway.
They're just terrified to come up to you, so you never really get to meet them, you know, that's the thing.
And then what happens, I guess, is that you tend to, well, hang out with people who are in the same position as you, and...
Well, you often go where you're comfortable. Like after a gig, you don't really want to be... You want to stop the entertaining, you know what I mean? And you want to be with people who won't demand that of you, and that's generally the people who are in it, so you're there with the, you know, the band.
I've read so many women, you know, who are successful or famous saying the same thing, like, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow or whatever, going, I mean, they literally have to go and get the guy and go, okay, let's go out, because otherwise they just won't approach them, you know, so...
Is that how you got your husband then?
I did, I grabbed him, yeah. Yeah.
This is a lesson to women everywhere. Coming up.
I mean, the girls know they're never going to compete with me. Never compete with me on a looks level.
The Corrs grew up on the east coast of Ireland and learned to sing and play musical instruments from an early age. By the time Andrea, the youngest Corrs, was 15, and Jim, the oldest, was 25, the siblings were playing gigs throughout Dublin. And where did all this musical talent come from? It was in their genes, of course.
Our mother was a singer and our father played the keyboards. They had this band together, and I suppose in a way we kind of took on the dream in a way. I mean, it's a very different thing than what they did, but they had a grown-up family that they of course couldn't have gone further with it.
My family doesn't get through 4 days at Christmas without some kind of, you know, hysteria on some level.
I think over the years we learned it. I mean, we've certainly fought an awful lot, you know. At the beginning, for the first few years, we got back from like touring, and we'd been away for months and months and months, and it was Christmas time. So there it was, you know, even Christmas Day, we are all again, you know. And, you know, Mommy and Daddy hadn't seen us in a while, and we were all excited to see us and hear all the news, but we'd come back knackered, and one Christmas Day, we just erupted, all of us, fighting, and I just remember Mammy, you know, going, like, what has happened here? Yeah. What has happened to them, you know?
Because you've just got so much material on each other, you know, so,
Yeah.
you know, if you're in the recording studio and this is exactly like when you were 7 and you said that thing.
It's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And that's just going to happen in any sort of family situation when you're trying to work together.
Who's the most emotional?
God, we all have our moments.
There's 3 girls and a boy in this band, so, you know.
Well, you've heard about the whole notion of synchronization and what gets synchronized. That time I kind of run a mile.
Because it's an amazing thing. I was going to ask, but I didn't think it was polite, but I'm so glad...
Right about that, by the way.
It's dead right. It's dead right.
Well, you've been listening into conversations, you shouldn't be.
Read between the lines, viewers.
That's not right.
Because even among sisters, I mean, you're not naturally competitive with each other, or were you and now you're not, or, you know?
Oh, I think there's a very healthy competitiveness, you know, between us, of course. But not in a negative way. I mean, I think we're all sort of very ambitious people, so to not be competitive would be unnatural.
Yeah, would be right.
If you're ambitious, you're competitive. That's it. They both go together, I think.
But not in terms of looks, like between us. I mean, the girls know they're never going to compete with me. Never compete with me on a looks level.
You and everybody out there knows what families are like. You are not all the same. You don't have all the same opinion, and you fight like cats and dogs. That is families. You know, it's not any different over here. You know, but we worked together, so we had to change that.
The Corrs single Angel was a tribute to the band's late mother, who they lost unexpectedly in the late 1990s. Does it somehow bring you all closer together?
Yeah, definitely, because you sort of really understand how fragile life is and how short it can be for people, and that really, that stuff isn't worth it. You know, a lot of things that you do in your life isn't worth it, you know.
It's a shame it takes something like that to realise.
It is a pity, but that's life. I mean, we can only really understand and empathise until we experience ourselves. So, you know, it happens to everybody.
It's time to say goodbye. Block out the sun and pack up the sky.
Do you think it opens up a whole different creative space in you when you experience a loss on, well, the biggest loss that you can imagine? Does it open up a whole another creative part in you?
Yes, I think it makes you more raw. You're just like, well, I'll write this down exactly how I feel it. And obviously, you know, that had a profound effect on all of us.
Life continues to grow and change for the Corrs, especially now that Caroline has added to the gene pool. What's it like having a little baby in the family now?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it was such a change. I mean, sometimes I go, oh, wow, did I have a baby? Did that happen?
Who are you?
Exactly.
Where did you come from?
Yeah, it's quite strange because it happened between records, and it happened to be quite a good time because you know, we weren't back on the road, you know, at the time, so it worked out. But
was he a good sleeper?
No. No, not for a while. But I mean, I think that you just expect that and just get on with it. But
you didn't go through that, oh my God, I've ruined my life stage for the first 3 months or anything?
I definitely was a shock to the system for both me and my husband. I think for everybody it's a shock to the system. As any parent says, you know, your life's changed forever, but for the better, you know.
And what's it like being an auntie?
It hurts to hear him cry when I see the tears come out and they just go like that, like cartoon
He's
tears.
not always crying, by the way.
No, only when she beats him.
Coming up. Now, Long Night is a very, very sad song.
Yeah, I wrote that.
Okay,
yeah.
so...
I'm married.
Are you still enjoying it as much? I mean, are you thinking ahead to the next album and the next album and the next album?
No, actually, I think we're more sort of enjoying the here and now. I think that, you know, when you're younger, I think you're a little bit more nervous and a little bit more unsure of what you're doing, and you're constantly fretting about the future. Now we've had a certain amount of success, and we're actually learning to really appreciate what we have.
Hey, you're too good to be good, and I'm too bad to pretend. Transparent entrance, fixed, I'm uncool.
After a 4-year break, the Corrs released their 4th studio album, Borrowed Heaven, in early 2004. It debuted in the top 10 of the Australian music charts.
I wanna take you for granted. Trip while you're talking, fade while you're downstairs, and chat on the phone.
You were saying that that you've been a lot more honest lyrically on this album than in previous albums.
I think we've you know, we've always been honest. I just think it's probably braver, you know. I mean, I think that songwriting is quite vulnerable, you know. It's like almost they're your diaries, you know what I mean, and you're showing them to not just your family, but, you know, everybody else. And I just think as time goes on and you grow up, you realise, you know, you're not creating any new sin or any new feeling. And I suppose you get braver to just write it exactly how you feel it and not care that the world will know it, you know, and see that you're, you know, not made of steel.
And it's gonna be long nights, and it's gonna be cold without your love, and I'm gonna get stage fright, caught in the headlights.
Now, Long Night is a very, very sad song.
Yeah, I wrote that.
Okay, so...
I'm married. Yeah.
Now, so does your husband go, honey, what are you so sad about?
I was kind of talking about the past.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also thinking of how I would feel if anything happened to what I have right now.
Over a 10-year career, the Corrs have sold millions of albums, played to audiences of up to 50,000, and made some friends in high places. One of the band's most devoted fans happens to be Nelson Mandela. He recently invited them to join the likes of Annie Lennox, Bono and Queen to play the 46664 AIDS benefit in South Africa. What was that experience like?
It was wonderful. I mean, what we really noticed about that show was like the lack of sort of ego, which was fantastic. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but there are some shows you do, and there's people backstage, you know, and everybody's throwing shapes, and it's like, look, you know, this was a really musical show, and it was kind of, you know, people just doing something for AIDS.
Do you still feel like you're not really a part of what you are?
Not really anymore. I mean, that did go on for quite a while, where you felt your album was a toy in the shop and the other ones were real, you know. I mean, that went on for a couple of albums.
But you're over that now?
Now, yeah. It
Well,
does
when Bono
feel-
starts calling you up to say, do you want to sing this song, do you go, actually, I think this is probably legitimate?
Yeah, no, I think it just takes the time within it to see the reality in everybody else, just like yourself.
Let's read the
When U2's Bono co-wrote the song Time Enough for Tears for the Oscar-nominated film In America, he only had one person in mind to sing it.
dress undone. Tell me no for hard questions. Tell me no for all our fears.
Coming up. Is there a pressure? Is it something
For
that you
sure,
hold in the back of your mind?
it would be a lie to deny that there isn't a pressure to look good. There isn't a pressure when you go out the door to feel that you've made more of an effort.
Backstage Pass.
When you look back on the 4 albums, is it possible to encapsulate what they are in a phrase, or in what they captured in your life at the time, you know?
It is in a way. I mean, it's almost like they're sort of growing up. It's almost like the first album is kids, and the second album is puberty, and the third album is just out of puberty and almost out of, but not quite sure. And then this last one seems much more mature.
Shower it down and all that young. It isn't so wrong to have such fun. Forever, angel.
So is it harder being a woman in this business?
In some ways, there's a lot of doors have opened for female artists, and I think that's just wonderful. But I think as you get older as a woman, you have other pressures, you know, maybe children, you wanting to have children, or you wanting to have a family. Whereas guys can kind of go out on tour forever. You know, you can be the Rolling Stones and still have maybe a partner or a husband or a wife at home and sort of looking after the domestic side of it. Whereas women, I think there's always that pull towards having both a domestic life and a career, and they're very hard to have both, especially in this industry.
Go on, leave me breathless. Come on.
It is harder for women because no matter what, there's just more focus on your looks.
Yeah.
Always, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, have you all been quite healthy about just dealing with that individually? Because we are in the plastic surgery, collagen era.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It would be a lie to deny that there isn't a pressure to look good. There isn't a pressure when you go out the door to feel that you've made more of an effort, you know. So, and that is a bit of a pressure, but I think we're pretty healthy about it. I mean, you know, as far as plastic surgery and all that stuff is concerned, I would hate to think that I would feel that I needed to, but I certainly wouldn't condemn anybody else doing it. The thing is just not
not to get too in your head about it. You know what I mean? It's not really that important.
You must see it becoming important to people around you, though.
What I see that's disturbing is women being pregnant, having their babies, and within a month they're back to sticking sex. And I think that's totally unnatural, and I think there's a very bad body image going out there to the general public. I think, to women all over the world of, I suppose if you have minders and all that sort of stuff, you can get on the treadmill and do that. But is it healthy, straight after pregnancy to be back to how you were before?
Go on, go on.
Is there anything you want in your life that you don't have already?
Yeah, I mean, for the future, I love children. Absolutely love children, I mean, it's not always, about the music. But the one thing that really keeps us going is this is actually highly addictive. This is a certain lifestyle that's really, really addictive. And when you slow down and you stop, you go, okay, where am I going to next? And you realise you're not going anywhere. And that's a real, you miss the adrenaline buzz. You really miss that.
When you think of Australia, what do you think of?
I think of fun, people, vibrant colour, people very much about enjoying life and the moment, and beers, barbecues, beers, barbecue, beaches, bums.
What's your favourite Corrs song and why?
I'll tell you one that stays with me always and has never left me. I've never begun to hate it. And that's a really good sign. Because, if you can not hate a song after playing it for 15 years, it's got to be half good. So run away, I think.
I'm never gonna stop falling in love with you.
Coming up.